What is up, my man George?
¿Cómo estás?
Yeah.
Yeah,
muy
yeah.
bien. ¿Y tú? I said, no, muy bien. ¿Y usted?
Yeah, trust me, you and I are a lot better than some other people right now from Latin America.
Oh, yeah, buddy. We'll get to that after we cover this UFC 162 joint. Now, if you notice, you like my tan, George? I know you can't see this. You see it on the video, son.
No,
I got some sun.
You're tan?
I got some sun, son.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know what's funny? Where you and your girl were just at is where me and my girl are going for our honeymoon.
Ah, you like that shit, don't you?
I don't know. I've never been there. I like where I'm going to be staying, but...
It's good. Let me tell you something. Where you're going to be staying and down there, you will love it. It's going to be an awesome place for your honeymoon. Trust me on that one, brother.
All right, so...
Now, are we going to trust these people to deliver a good card for UFC 162? I'm just going to ask you that shit straight out.
And I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Looking strictly at the names on this card, if all you're doing is looking at name power, it's
right.
kind of there, but it's kind of like there's one fight right in the middle of the card that I'm really unsure about. I'm not even sure why it's on it, but when we get to it, we'll yeah, I don't know, dude.
Right. Well, first, there's actually some good people in the fucking undercard, because Chris Weidman, I always like to see him bang because that's all he does.
Yeah, because, exactly where you're getting with Chris Weidman, and then also...
And it's entertainment.
Right, also in there, you're going to have Gabriel Gonzaga versus Dave Herman, which is...
Which is strange. No, it's strange. No, it's strange that that's not on the main card.
And it's not even. It's not even the last card on the prelims. It's buried right in the middle of the prelims on FX or whatever other station Fox is using that week.
Right, and then another person is Edson Barboza.
Right,
like he's. There's a so I guess if the free card is actually going to be pretty good, because I remember the last time Edson Barboza fought. I don't know if it was the last time he had that nasty spinning wheel kick.
Yeah, I think that was 2 or 3 fights ago against Terry Ettman, I think.
Yeah, and that shit was just nasty. So if we can see some more shit like that, I'm down. Especially if it's free.
What we do get to see leading off on the pay-per-view is Cub Swanson versus Denis, your brother-in-law Siver.
Yeah, that's the Tyrannosaurus Rex arm from. I will say this. I was a fan of Denis Siver, but he just has not looked good since he's dropped that weight. In my opinion, he just has not looked. Go ahead.
And I'm going to agree with you. You saw an explosive fighter who was out to end the fight quick and would throw bombs. I don't think his style's changed much. And surprisingly, as much fun as we make of Denis Siver's arms, these guys are the same height with the same reach.
That's funny as shit, because I would have never thought that. But
it's going to look like 2 Oompa Loompas going for the fences. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think Cub Swanson's going to counterpunch this cat and floor him.
Cub Swanson has been showing. He's just been on point with his game. The thing is this guy seems like he's just a new MMA fighter for himself, because he struggled at one point in his career, and now he's reeling off all these wins. He's using it. He's winning every way. He's fucking fighting to the end. To the end of the 3rd round, because he hasn't had a championship look yet. But I see this as going to be an uphill battle for Denis Siver, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
I don't see Siver winning this. I got Cub Swanson ending this in the 2nd round.
I got Cub Swanson too. Now, your boy Mark Munoz is going to be fighting Tim Boetsch. This could be a good and very interesting fight.
It could, but I honestly don't think it is, because last time we saw Mark Munoz fight, he had a year layoff. That was from an injury. He's coming off another year layoff again. If you remember him versus Chris Weidman, he looked rusty. He got caught with that crazy elbow, and Tim Boetsch fought 3 times last year. Me personally, I'm going to go with the fighter who's been fighting, and I'm going to go with Tim Boetsch to win this.
I agree with you, man. I think that, like you said, he's not rusty. He's looked really good. He had that one fucked up loss where he got hurt.
Yeah, he got poked in the eye, fucking atomic head butted and everything else. And I think it was Costa Philippou just capitalized. Yeah. Because he was a fill-in, because Boetsch was supposed to fight Weidman.
Right. And that just didn't materialize. Now, you can flip that fucking card and say that Mark Munoz maybe this time won't rush into something, and he's really healthy, and maybe if he's had a good camp and he's had the right people in that camp, he can turn it around and maybe put, Boetsch away. But I don't know, and I don't, like you said, I don't see it happening, just because if you look at what he's done over the last couple of years, it's absolutely nothing, because he's been away from the octagon.
And it's just different. You got to see, like I've always said when we talk about NFL, it's game speed. It's one thing to train with partners and spar who aren't going full speed. But, when you get into that cage, Tim Boetsch isn't holding back. He doesn't give a shit you've been off a year. You're a paycheck to him.
Right. Everybody out there, George and I have been talking about how we're trying to get everybody more involved in everything and with the videos and stuff and comments. And actually, we've always, George, I guess, had a lot of people commenting, but it's like, tell everybody put your shit down there, put it out there and say, what you think, even if you got shit to say about George and I, if like your predictions are whack, you guys are not seeing it the right way, we don't give a fuck.
Hold on. If one of you cocksuckers want to tell me I don't know anything about MMA because I can't pronounce one of these assholes' names, lick my fucking taint, because you're insane. If you and I watch the same thing and just because I can't pronounce the dude's name means I don't know what I'm looking at, fuck off. Like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And fucking Stipe, whatever the fuck his last name is, I don't give a shit how easy. Yeah, I'm never going to say his name right now just because it offends and bothers so many of you, and you need to fucking get a grip and relax. Listen to what I say besides fucking up his name. The funny thing I find out about these fights are just so many, and I'll repeat it in another one of the cards we cover, is everybody's talking about how it's predictions, man. If everybody got that shit 100% right, then we would be paid in Vegas. I mean, and if you look at fighters, and we'll get to this later because the last fight on the card, obviously the main event, there's a lot that was said by Dana White, and I want to touch on that. But anyway, let's fucking scratch all that shit and let's talk about this Tim Kennedy versus Roger Gracie. This fight, in my opinion, has no business being where it is on this card. I could easily have seen Gabriel Gonzaga and Herman here. I could easily seen you bumping up Lieben to the very first fight of the night on the pay-per-view, and then just getting this fight makes no sense. Roger Gracie has some of the worst stand-up I've ever seen in my entire life. And the last video I saw was him getting floored by Muhammad Law, and all what's his name did on Strikeforce was yell about how great of a boxer he was. His hands are low. His jab has no snap to it. The only thing that's going to get snapped in this fight is his head. And Tim Kennedy just sat there and ran off at the mouth about how people don't get paid enough in the UFC. You are getting ready to fight your first fight. Are you trying to get cut before you even get in the octagon?
Well, this is funny. Both of these guys are coming over from Strikeforce, and like you said, George, about Roger Gracie, this guy is known strictly for his ground game. I mean, the shit that he's accomplished being a Gracie, I mean, he has a lot to live up to following that Gracie tradition. He is great on the ground, and some of the things he's accomplished in BJJ
when he hits the
phenomenal.
Ground, when he gets knocked the fuck out, he snores better than anyone I've ever seen.
And you know what? You're right about that, because the thing is, and this is the other thing about it, he will find himself standing up a lot because Tim Kennedy has never been submitted in his mixed martial art pro career. He has not been, no one has submitted that big, thick bastard. And I don't see Roger Gracie doing it because I don't see Roger Gracie taking Tim Kennedy to the ground a lot.
Nope.
So
the only way this gets to the ground is if Gracie pulls guard and Kennedy follows in after him, and I don't think Kennedy's that dumb.
And sometimes you see these BJJ guys, you saw it with Roger Gracie when he fought somebody who was a great wrestler like King Mo. You saw what happened and what the end result was, and I think you're going to see a lot of that shit. It's going to be I
don't even think Gracie attempted a takedown in that fight. He might have attempted one, but I mean, Muhammad Law is not the greatest wrestler in the world.
No.
And if you can't take that cat down...
Yeah, no. And I mean, I agree with you, man. I think this shit's going to be Groundhog Day because it's going to be it's going to look like you're watching the fucking shit over again.
Gracie's going to be laying on his back counting sheep.
Now, Frankie Edgar.
Here's your boy.
You know me, I'm a huge fan of Frankie Edgar because that motherfucker brings it, man. He is fucking MMA to me because he just is entertaining all the time. He's going to be fighting Charles Oliveira. Now, the funny thing about Frankie Edgar, I don't know if you guys realize, but he has not fought any non-title fight since 2009.
Right.
2009.
And you know what else he hasn't done since 2009? Press the action in rounds 1 and 2.
Right. He slept on that a little bit, and it's got him in trouble, especially his last couple fights. And he's got to realize that he's going up against a guy that's very fucking hungry, but he's also going up to a guy that is going to look to take it to the ground. And if Frankie Edgar lets this guy take him to the ground and he doesn't press it in the first and second rounds, he could be in trouble. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think Frankie's out to prove himself at 145. I think he's going to keep moving, and I think he's going to get this guy in trouble and finish the fight before the fight's over. Well, if you finish the fight, usually that's before the fight's over, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking.
It'll be interesting because Oliveira comes into this fight with a 4-inch height advantage and a 5-inch reach advantage.
Right.
I'm thinking for Edgar to win this, and this is why I think he needs to come out and press early. He needs to close the distance. If this guy Oliveira comes out and uses his jab, he could keep. If he keeps Frankie on the end of his jab, there's no way Frankie's going to win this fight. Frankie's got to get inside, hit this dude with some body shots, which he doesn't do too well with. Ask Cub Swanson, and I think Frankie can win. But it'll be interesting because he's been in so many title fights and he's just been on the the losing end, and he puts on a good show. So I expect a good fight. I fully do. But
he's got to. But like the key is, it's just like you said. He's got to get in the inside. If anybody out there knows anything about what Charles Oliveira, if he's got a jab or if he's got enough boxing skills to keep Frankie Edgar on his heels, then maybe he has a shot. But I just Frankie Edgar seems to find a way to get in the inside and land punches, and he seems to bring. I think the one thing that you said, that's the biggest thing, George, is that he's got to start out fast. He can't start out slow.
No,
in a 3-round fight, he's just not going to.
If he comes out and doesn't win the first round, he's not going to win this fight.
Yeah,
he's got to win the first round.
Now, the big thing what everybody's paying to see and everybody's talking is for Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, I'm not sure why the hype. I mean, you got a guy who, yes, I understand he's undefeated, but who the fuck has he beat?
Yeah, and you know what? We see this time and time again against people who come up against Anderson Silva and people who come up against George St. Pierre. And the bottom line is those two guys always find a way to get it done because they're perfectionists. They know the sport. They're good. They have so many weapons in their arsenal, and they're good at it all. And I mean, Chris Weidman is great. I mean, but like you said, George, and some people be like, oh, he knocked out Mark Munoz and all this. I don't care what anybody fucking says. He does not have this real deep MMA resume.
No.
That's, and I'm thinking, okay, he is a great wrestler. And and I'm going to tell you what, even the Yamasaki brothers told me when I did the interview with them, they were very high on, now I would take their word more over some of the fighters because some of these fighters have the worst predictions. They're 5 times worse than George and I. So don't ever talk about George and I predictions because these fighters, even though they're in the sport, they're terrible at predicting fights. But Mario and Fernando Yamasaki were two individuals that were very impressed with Chris Weidman. They just thought that he was the next big thing coming up. They thought he was a really good fighter. Now, they didn't say they thought he could beat Anderson, but they did say they were very impressed with his skill set and all the things that he's capable of doing. Now, is that going to translate to him beating Anderson Silva this weekend?
No.
I don't know.
It's not this weekend. It's next weekend.
I mean, next weekend. I don't see it happening.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Anderson Silva could possibly go down as the greatest pound for pound fighter we've ever seen, and he will easily go down as the best 185er that's to ever fight.
Right.
I mean, I really don't see how you can argue it. I don't. We're not going to get into that. Oh, John Jones, GSP, best pound. We're talking strictly about the 185 class. I don't think Chris Weidman possesses the skills to beat Anderson. But
no, and if you look at anybody else who's been in the 185, the other greats in 185 have been Vitor Belfort, Dan Henderson. They've all lost to Anderson Silva. I mean, you look at who he's beat. He's
everyone.
Beat all the great everyone.
Twice.
People from Pride, people from Strikeforce, people from fucking Mars. He's beat them all, and it's like, I mean, I guess everybody wants to be hyped on Chris Weidman. Me personally, have not seen enough of him in action to say he's going to dethrone Anderson Silva. And I just got to go with what I've seen. And
the other thing is Chris Weidman's never fought 5 rounds.
No.
Does he have the gas past 3? I mean, what happens if this gets into the 4th and 5th round? Because let me tell you, if Weidman was to win this fight, he's got to get in there and take Anderson down and hold him for 3 rounds. Okay, so you held him down for 15 minutes, which is not easy to hold another man your same size as you down for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Guess what? You got 10 more minutes to try to get through.
And this is the thing I think a lot of people fail to remember about Anderson Silva. When he fought Chael Sonnen, because a lot of people go back to that comparison with Chael Sonnen. Oh, Chael Sonnen did this. Anderson Silva has fought a lot of great wrestlers and a lot of aggressive people. But the one thing I think Anderson Silva did was he underestimated Chael Sonnen. That's the one thing he was definitely guilty of.
In that first
Chael
one.
Sonnen, in the first one, and he caught him. And when he caught Anderson Silva, it hurt him. And Anderson Silva was playing catch up from that point on. I mean, you get caught, you get hit good. That's the one thing where he fucked up. And it wasn't it was Chael's wrestling that kept him in the fight, and everything. But people forgot it was that initial tap that caught Silva and hurt him. And, you know, I didn't think Anderson Silva's game plan is going to be like, I'm going to use my lengthy ass, you know, limbs to keep the distance. And if Weidman gets too aggressive or does something, we all know Anderson Silva is a phenomenal counterpuncher and striker. He will fucking light you up.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this is going to look a lot like that Forrest Griffin fight. I think it's going to look like Weidman's going to be punching underwater and getting hit from places he can't even catch up to.
Yeah, because the thing is, he has not fought a striker with this kind of speed.
Nope.
You know, and the thing is, it's just like John Jones says, Anderson Silva, it just doesn't have the speed, but he's so fucking accurate.
Yeah.
You know?
Motherfucking accurate.
Anyway, that boy is accurate. Anyway, everybody, let us know. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think, what the results will be, if there's going to be any surprises, any upsets. Put that shit down below on the comment section.